welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Want to thank you for joining our JD Talk series today. Really appreciate everybody taking their time and allowing us to present our new topic here today. Let me get this set up right here so you're not seeing all of the other stuff. For some reason. Anyways, we'll just keep going with what we got. I won't even change the screen because I don't want to mess it up. So anyways, today what we're going to do is, as you know, we have our great partner with us from Reports Now. And we have Jerry and Julie with us. I'll introduce myself and I'll let Jerry and Julie give a quick note of who they are. So I'm John Cecil. I'm in North America, have sales responsibilities for here within the United States. And so, Julie, I'll let you go.
Okay, my name's Julie Borgerding. I am in North America as well, in Denver, Colorado. I am the Director of Training at Reports Now, and I'm excited to be here. Jerry?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jerry Noble. I'm Director of Professional Services at Reports Now. I was a JD Edwards developer for several years and consultant for several years. And I came to Reports Now about 4 years ago, and it's been a pleasure being here. So I look forward to getting into some discussions with you this morning.
All right. Thank you all. So today we want to make this impactful for you. As many of you know, you'll have questions in here. I want you to be able to use the chat session, throw it out there. We'll monitor the chat session. At the end, there will be a Q&A session out there too. But again, we want this interactive. We want to be able to have this so it's usable for you. It's great that, the three of us know this subject very well, but I'm sure you have questions. And all questions are welcome. So please do not hesitate to ask. Again, we'll monitor these and we'll answer them as we go along the way. If there's too many of them, we'll send out a follow-up email to everybody and respond to those chat questions. However, we'll do our best to get them all answered within here or within the Q&A session. With that being said, the agenda today, as you know, we're going to talk about the JDE reporting challenges, right? What are the challenges out there with data issues, complexity, quality, training, IT usage, all kind of things like that. We're going to show also within there, we're going to demo some Reports Now components of it. We're going to show the ease of use for the business units. As you know, many of you out there today get questions by the business units or the business units are asking for reporting. And it's very hard and very difficult to give them that, or it's not real time. We'll talk about, some of the new advanced features within Reports Now. We're going to talk about how it scales, the performance, and most importantly, security, how it integrates within JDE. And then, we'll talk about the dashboards. So Jerry and Julie, we're gonna go through this and we put together what we believe in is by doing surveys and talking to our customers that we have, the top 7. We probably could have gone on a lot more than 7, but we stopped it at 7. But we're going to talk about these topics real quick, and then we'll flip it over to how does Reports Now ease some of these pains and some of these key benefits. So Jerry, within the complexity of data, and Julie, feel free, JD Edwards handles all kind of massive amounts of data. Yeah. Any thoughts in that you've run into within the complexity of data and the data quality issues and helping get reporting going within JD Edwards?
Right. And so with an ERP system, there is so much data, and especially one as big as JD Edwards and other ERP systems out there. And all these systems are integrated, right? Especially back to GL, but you also have integrated systems between sales and inventory and purchasing and inventory and sales and shop floor control and all these relationships between the data. And it gets difficult to try and bring all these together. But I think, one of the greatest pursuits for reporting is to put the reporting in the hands of the users. And in 30 years in this industry, I feel like Reports Now does the best job of that because it's intuitive for one thing, but I don't want to make it sound like it's just an easy silver bullet because you still, as a user, have to know where the data resides, right? If I need financial information, I want financial balances, I need to know that I need to go look at F0902, right? And the nice thing about Reports Now is when you're looking for data, you can put in descriptions of what you're looking for. Like say I'm looking for account balances. You can search on that description and it uses the JD Edwards descriptions from the object librarian, right? That's an old term from old JD Edwards development days where we describe the names of the objects that make up the JD Edwards systems, applications, tables, business views, reports, and it will use those descriptions. So if I put in account balances, then I'll get a whole list of things that come up to say, well, it looks like it's in F0902. So it really helps in that way. And I thought at JD Edwards, we did a good job of describing the objects. Not always, like sometimes if you're looking for, payroll PDBAs, it might be under something like, I think, payroll constants. And, that may not be what you would initially search on if you're looking for payroll PDBAs. But, this is a great tool for at least getting to know the data and mining it. And then you can get into the reporting aspect of it. But just getting to know the data and mining it just by setting up queries and table joins and things, excellent tool for that.
Hey, thank you so much. I think one of the biggest challenges that we're all facing for the business units is, the limited ability to get real-time reporting. And then how do we use real-time reporting? Mm-hmm. And then we'll touch on this also here in a little bit, but also how does AI now play into this? And does AI understand our data? I think that within the, as you were mentioning those files and those locations, knowing those things, how do we, now bring this real-time reporting, to the users and the end users?
Okay, so our data, all of our, when we're querying the data, like you said, a lot of reporting solutions don't use real-time data. We're pointed directly at JD Edwards. We're going through the JDB database layer, right? And so great things about that is, hey, we inherit row security from JD Edwards. So, people shouldn't be seeing data that they shouldn't see if they're already secured out of it in JD Edwards. And again, that's at the row layer, right? The row security. If your security model is to secure users out of data using application security, well, then that'll need to be revisited if you're using a tool like this to say, well, secure them out with row security. And then other great things about the real-time reporting with Reports Now is because we go through that database layer, we do all the data dictionary translations. So you don't have to worry about formatting a Julian date. You don't have to worry about looking at your currency amounts and formatting decimals and things like that. We do the whole data dictionary interpretation for you, or translation. So again, that adds to the ease of use and real-time reporting with Reports Now.
Yeah, so Julie, let's talk about the ease of use and the usability, within, JD Edwards, right? I mean, training and the users, many times, we find that all of these reports and the requests for the reports come back to, the IT staff and the IT department and, our JDE technical individuals and not ability to have non-technical users really get into it because they don't understand JD Edwards. They don't really understand where to go. What have you found out there today and as you're visiting with your customers on the usability compared to where we're going in the very near future?
Right. So we like to use the term citizen developer because it does really take the dependency of IT away. We do a lot of right mouse clicking, using that design menu, and it's pretty intuitive to learn. We find that people that aren't used to developing reports have a pretty easy time of it. We talked about the number of tables. I think there's between 5,000 and 6,000 tables in JD Edwards, and for an IT person to know all those tables and where the data lies can be overwhelming. If you are an AP clerk, you might be concerned with 5 or 6 tables, and that's it. And Jerry touched on it just briefly. We do have this beautiful interaction with JD Edwards that we even have maybe a dozen or so, maybe more, JD Edwards specific calculations that allow you to do things like pull back the phone number of an address book, where in other systems you might have to create a table join to do that. So there's some real seamlessness built in that just allows those everyday users who aren't really developers to develop these reports. And they have a tendency to learn quickly. We all, get used to that GUI interface where it's intuitive. If you want to design a column, you go into design columns. So people learn it pretty quickly, which is nice. It takes it out of the IT department's hands to develop everyone's reports.
Yeah, I can speak for myself. I know back in the day, the reports that I would generate weren't exactly very pretty and very pictorial and didn't tell the story. You had to still dig into all of the data to develop the story. So now I love what it is. Well, as we move forward and we move on to the ability to, my slide's not advancing. Sorry here. Yeah. Next slide. Onto the key benefits of reporting in JD Edwards. What have you found, within the real time, and we're going to go back to real time reporting for a second, but also with the integration of other systems. As JD Edwards, it pulls from all kind of other business intelligence locations, right? And so how does reports now help us with that and continue going?
Go ahead, Julie.
So I think because it's easy to use, it allows those users to almost in an ad hoc manner create the reports they want. We have the ability to integrate with other systems. So you could pull from Salesforce, you could pull from NetSuite, you can pull from an Excel spreadsheet and combine that data together with your JD Edwards data in the same report, and it stays real time. We do have the ability to add some beautiful visualizations to that data that really help demonstrate the KPIs. I think sometimes when we're looking at the details of a report, well, for me, I'm a really visual person, and the second I integrate a graph or a chart, the data takes on a whole new meaning, right? And so it goes from being the details that you might need in your day-to-day work to those beautiful advanced visualizations that show the whole picture and allow you to make the business-based decisions that you might need to further your business. Jerry, anything else to add?
Well, just going to add for the usability of this tool, and because of its integration with JD Edwards, if you're familiar with JD Edwards applications like Query by Example, when you can query in the cell above a column in a grid, or you have the visual assist on a form control on a form, all of these behave the same. Like if you have a user-defined code and you need to use a search and select to go set a filter for a user-defined code, it behaves exactly like your JD Edwards applications. And then the other, I think, and I really like this because I used to do a lot of CNC administration, so I did a lot of package builds, deployments, and package promotions and things like that. And that's a big process. That is a huge process. And if you use managed services, well, it may not even, you may have to wait overnight or something, right, to get a report deployed for testing or into production. Well, with Reports Now, that all goes away, right? You write a report and it is available in any environment after that. And to me, that is huge because it is a time saver for the user and time saver for your CNC admins. So I wanted to add that little bit of administration point there. Thank you.
No, that's great. Thank you so much for adding that. I think that the other thing that we want to talk about too is, the customizations, right? And how Reports Now allows for all of these customizations for these reports. As we know now, we're asking, and other people within our business units are asking for all different types of reports. It's not just like Julie mentioned earlier, just the AP person or whoever it is. Now it's the, manufacturing, it's the shop floor. It's the people that were deciding what we're actually making today, how we're making it, what went out, all of those things on real time, components of it. So how does the customization change the game for our customers that are out there today?
Jerry, you want to take that?
Yeah, sorry, Jerry.
So, and Julie already mentioned the visualizations, right? The dashboards. I mean, they can tell a whole story in a glance. And so things like shop floor control that you mentioned, in manufacturing, and we can develop a sort of a work order workbench like they have in JD Edwards. And we can say, hey, here's, and filtering on various metrics, but one of the common ones would be start date or something to say, well, show me all the work orders I'm going to start in the next week, right? And then in that same dashboard, you can say, show me all the inventory that's required for those work orders. And then in that grid, you can say, show me the availability of the inventory required for those work orders, right? And it just tells this whole story in a glance. And you can sit there and say, oh gosh, we're building 10 of these widgets and it requires 20 of these parts and we've only got 19 and the start date is October 1st. I better get some of those parts in here. So it can give you real valuable real-time information in a glance.
That's great. That ties into, all of the, operational reporting needs that we all have today, and how it goes into, the current workflow and the planning and forecasting, also historical trends. I think that the important thing that we want to also get across today is that the ability to have these real-time reporting, we've talked about this for, a few times out there, but, all of this advanced reporting, automates the process, right? And it lets us create the reports. The operational features of the dashboard with drill down data, helps all the leaders also in which you're giving it to, for those information. So a lot of that going back and forth and helping me decipher and helping me understand what the report is and what the report means and how do we use it, we're able to now, deliver those in a succinct manner. And I'm sure you all out there are being asked by now the CEO, the CIO, people in charge of sales and everything else for additional type of reporting that we haven't had to answer in the past. And so with this, the ease of use of these reportings and for the businesses is very, very important. With that, I'm just go to the next slide here. The ease of reports and the intuitive design, and the ability to do drag and drop and pre-built templates. Jerry or Julie, you want to talk about any of those real quick before we continue on to go into some dashboards and look at some of the demos?
Go ahead, Julie.
I do think both the tool to create a report and the tool to create dashboards we keep using the word intuitive, but they're pretty easy to navigate. And, we use things that, like Jerry said, the visual assists are are the same. So if you have that continuity, it makes it quick to learn and easy to use. Simple search bar, different things like that. Jerry, do you?
Yeah, well, a lot of the, like for reporting on business unit, I think a lot of the ease of that was handled by JD Edwards because there's business units in everything, right? Even in the chart of accounts, the business unit makes up part of an account number. And so when we need to start querying on those things and breaking it down by business unit and things like subledger, then it's easy because JD Edwards provided that data structure for us. And that's a big step in making reporting easy is your data structure and the relationships between your tables. And then add the ease of use of the DAS tool and our Mobi dashboarding tools and Pro Reports. It just makes it that much easier to pull that meaningful data out of the system.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to that. The ability for the rich reporting that comes out of Reports Now that's able to plug into our JD Edwards environment, and also I would say the JD Edwards ecosystem and those other systems that tie into it, right? To get current information, and I can't express that enough. I know that in the past, we were able to give reports of the previous day or some predictive reports, but nowadays I'm finding as I talk to our customers and as I'm sure you guys are being asked, hey, where are we at now? What does it look like right now? And that could be the middle of the day, right? So the ability to get these reports and to get the current information is very, very important, right? The current state of what's going on. Also, the current state of work planning and the planning of the work. And how does that handle and what does that change our operational components of it? And what skill sets and what parts and all those things that we've talked about before, right? And then, obviously, we've always been able to do, forecasting and our predictive analysis going forward. But now this allows us to even get tighter on that forecasting. It allows us to really understand the data, train the data, and use the data for these reports and give these visuals to the executives so people can take a snapshot of it and they can understand what it is. And then, balancing all of these things off our historicals, right? So within there, we're also able to go back and look at the previous stuff and the older stuff and look at historical reports and do the compares against this in a very nice and ease way. So many people within the business units can digest the data. I'm sure many of you, and I don't know, Jerry and Julie, if you guys have any stories of this as implementing this with customers, but I certainly do if you don't. But, many customers, they would ask for a report and then next thing you know, you were summoned up to a meeting room and you had to go explain what the report was because they couldn't understand it because it wasn't in a format or a form or a data set in which they could truly understand. But today, within Reports Now, integrations within the JDE environment, you're able to give them reports. Now, it's not to say they won't have questions. Of course, they'll always have questions, but it gives them the reports. And you're also able to design, as we talked about earlier, the ability for them to have their own customized dashboard, their own customized report as they want it, so they can digest it and they can get real-time information. Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on that before we go to some dashboards and visualization we show?
Well, one thing we kind of haven't discussed is we can have these great reports and very valuable and show a lot of valuable information to us, but we haven't discussed the delivery of it. And with Reports Now, we have all these options of, bursting, like you would just email the results to the recipients. We can put it out on network drives. We can save it in different formats at the same time. Maybe you want an Excel spreadsheet because you have some Excel masters that kind of want to slice and dice the data. And then we can save it as a PDF to send to somebody because you don't want the results changed, right? And we can do that at the same time, that delivery. And another just what my customers have used, and even when I was a consultant, when I was using DAS, I would use it over and over just for data mining. And then and for ETL, right, which is the extract, transform, and load. especially for the Excel masters out there, because there's so many Excel power users and they love that tool, and it is a great tool. And DAS is outstanding at pulling out data, giving it to an Excel user and say, do what you want. And Excel users love it. So we have kind of those delivery methods of the information, from just Excel to bursting to putting on network drives and flexible options.
Yeah, Jerry, I love that, and I think many of you on this call would agree with us. I mean, there's many times in the past we would try to get a report out, right, and we'd send it to a phone, mobile device for somebody to look at, and it didn't have the visualizations, or the Excel power users would want to still have it in a way that they have. So we have many ways and many flexible ways to get this information out, so everybody can use it in their own best format in which they want to use for their business units. Julie, any further thoughts before we jump into the dashboards and some visualizations and show the tool?
No, I think we can go ahead and show some of this here.
All right. You want to take over this, Jerry?
Sure. So I am going to start here. Let's make sure everyone can see. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. This is just showing here some of some dashboards that we have made. This is an injury dashboard. We talked a lot about inventory details. And as these scroll through, you can see right away the type of visuals that are available. There's bar charts. You see some different maps. This is actually a map of a body showing where injuries occur. We have maps of countries that you can map your data to. We have grids, charts, gauges. So there's many, many types of visuals you can see in here. And I'm going to actually stop it, let's see, on this dashboard here. Because Jerry touched base, on how we could look at our inventory levels and see what's going on. You can see in this bottom tab down here, we even have on this second tab, the items to reorder and reorder levels. And we can actually create a link right here, right into JD Edwards to say, hey, this is low, we can turn it red, and click to enter a purchase order right into JD Edwards. So if I sign in here to JD Edwards, my credentials disappeared. One second. You'll see if I click to enter JD Edwards or purchase orders, it pops me right into that JD Edwards purchase order header to go ahead and enter in that purchase order. You can also embed these beautiful dashboards right into your JD Edwards environment. So this is right here when I log in, I have that same ability to see this same dashboard. They do have some ability to drill down. So if I click on my business unit here, it will modify all my associated visualizations by just filtering it down to that Eastern Distribution Center. And then I can say, oh, I need to look at this mountain bike red. I need to reorder these items before this job and enter in those purchase orders. So you do have that interactiveness between the dashboards themselves and the JD Edwards, which can be really nice. This is actually the design space. These dashboards are based on a underlying report. So this is what a regular report would look like. Is it not switching on my? Do we have some lag here? You guys still
the screen isn't changing, Jules.
Dashboard.
I'll
Okay.
let you. We have a question in the chat. We can tell that changes. We can answer the question. So we have a question out there that says, I understand DAS reporting can actually be displayed within JD. Can you expand on that functionality?
So Jerry, you want to explain that?
Yeah, well, we have a couple options, right? We can use something like a Cafe One or one of those consolidate. I forget the name of the forum type now, but Cafe One is one of the options, and you can display the DAS results in there. Another option is, hey, you can add it if you have a seasoned JD Edwards development staff, and this really makes it seamless, but like you can add form and row exits to a JD Edwards application that go to a DAS report, and that's coming out of the JD Edwards application. So now it's not displaying the data within a JD Edwards application. You're actually leaving JDE to go to the DAS report, but you're doing it from a JD Edwards application. So there are a few options there about how easy it is to integrate it into the JD Edwards apps.
Right. Okay, so I think I got my little issue fixed here. I think I was only sharing my window. Now I'm sharing the DAS itself. And so this is my underlying report, right? More like the report that we are used to seeing. And the dashboards are based on reports. So whatever data you pull into your report, you can create your dashboard on. I can do things in this report. This visual assist line here, this white line between my column header and the detail is where we see those visual assists that we might see in JD Edwards. So if I use this, I'm going to get a list of my branch plants, right? So we're kind of used to that integration already. If I am on a user-defined code table or anything that's defined in JD Edwards, I'll get that pop-up. If I'm on a date, I'll get a nice little pop-up calendar, right, where I can select those dates. So that makes it easy for that end user to filter. We do have some great built-in functionality where if I wanted, this branch plant name is already here, but if I want the branch plant name, I can just double click it and it will bring in that branch plant column. So this one is the new one. This one was one that was there. So it does have a lot of this right mouse clicking and double clicking interactivity. The dashboard is now, this is the design space for the dashboard, and this is built on the report. And so you'll see on the left here, these are all the columns on my report. And you can see now I have the branch plant description twice because I just brought it in. But then I can build my visualizations based on whatever my report has. And at the top here, you can see the different types of visualizations, the pivot grids, the pies, the gauges, the choropleth maps. And you can arrange them just by dropping and dragging them around, right? So I'll make this kind of, you can just kind of see if I wanted this at the bottom instead, maybe at the bottom, very bottom. So you have the ability, our users kind of get used to the drop and drag nature of it. And then you can connect each visualization to each other by using what we call a multiple master filter. So then that way, if you click on one of the items, then it filters the rest of the items based on whatever it is you're clicking on. So it has this, if I wanted to create a pie chart, I just drag it down. Let's see. Now I have a new space for a pie chart. I bring in my arguments. So maybe I want the order quantity open by branch plant. And I have a chart that easy just by dragging those values in. And then I can make whatever modifications I want. So just kind of show that design interface a little bit and just how easy and quickly you can modify your report or change these dashboards up. Well, a simple user understand those numbers if they don't have the description. Which numbers were you referring to? You guys see that question?
I do see the question. I was gonna ask the same piece.
Well, and it would be up to the designer, right, to the developer to say, to put appropriate descriptions by numbers and by sums and totals and things to make it more readable. I think sometimes, maybe in our demo, sometimes we don't exactly do that, but as long as the designer does a good job of formatting the data and the display, hopefully it's a real readable dashboard.
And I think the importance of this too is I think the front end of the question, and Gladys, please add in there if we're not answering this correctly, or if you want more data or want to get deeper. Anybody else, please put your questions in the chat. The simple user understand this. I think that you can see by what Julie's doing is this is something where if the data is sitting behind it, that the simple user or the a user with a little bit of training, and we're not talking like you got to be a CNC, right? Can get in here and design and extrapolate the reports in which they need. So a business analyst would be able to get in here and pull these out pretty quick, all the way down to other different skill sets within the business units. So, and that's the design. That's the important thing here, is that as reporting is becoming very mainstream, right? I mean, before it was like, hey, in the morning at 8 o'clock, we'll all huddle, we'll look at our reports, right? Or they'll go out at night, or we'll do the reports at midnight and you'll get them, we'll look at them in the morning. Well, now they're looking at them throughout the day. And as Jerry mentioned earlier, and Julie was talking about too, that these reports go out to people's phones and they go into all different formats and everything. And so people are making decisions, as as you're being asked to generate these reports. So if we can simplify this so the end user can grab them, or we can automate them so they can get them, then that's even better for them. So, will the simple user understand them? I would classify myself these days as a simple user, and I can go in there and figure things out. Now, again, as reports now, they'll do training for the simple user and even the power user, right? And so that's very important, because I think any tool in which you get, I don't care what it is, if you don't have training, you don't have a base understanding of how the business can use it, it really doesn't work for your business, and especially these reports these days, right? And I think that was a part of having this conversation, is that, the confusion of reports and the need for reports and how to get the right data for these reports is very, very important within JD Edwards.
Yeah. And, we're going over the dashboards, and we haven't mentioned the product that is dashboards. It's called Mobi, right? And that is our dashboarding product. And one of I think the best things about Mobi is you don't need a JD Edwards account for it. Okay. How many times do you have users that either are not JD Edwards users, but you have to get reports to, or they sign in once in a while and, always have to reset their password or something. They just don't use JD Edwards that much. Mobi is this product that doesn't require a JD Edwards user account. And that's big to me for all the non-JDE users that still consume JDE data. And then another product that we really haven't talked about is Pro Reports, right? And it can be published to Mobi and accessed without a JD Edwards account. So another great tool for getting valuable information out to the users, and getting it to them easier without JD Edwards accounts, package builds, project promotions, deployments, all done with Mobi.
Those are great adds in. Is very important, right? As additional options and opportunities for our end users. Julie, do you have any others to share, or you want to dig into any other data?
The other thing that's nice, because you don't need that JD Edwards login, the dashboards do have a drillability function. So I'll just pause it here and we'll see what we get. But this is injuries by days of the week. If I click this show detailed data, I can see who got injured on what day of the week. So I can see the grid of data behind the visual, and I could as the developer, add more to it. These are obviously just the two pieces of information on this one that this particular graph is based on. But you do have the ability to add more data to those, so you could see behind each grid what's going on, and each visualization the actual details. So to be able to see that and not need that JD Edwards login is pretty powerful as well. So the ones that are included on the graph to make the graph happen are included automatically, and then that developer has the ability to come in here and create this and make it more like the report that you might send out with it. But it does have that drillability right on the dashboard, which is a nice supporting details just to see that audit trail.
That's excellent. I think that many of us would, love that capability, right? It also helps, as I mentioned earlier, to reduce the amount of questions, right? There might be questions by the business units. Hang on, can you give me that report? Can you give me the data that made these things? And boom, right there at your fingertips, right? I love to use the FedEx old thing, point, ship, and click, right? Or point, click, and ship. Same here. Hey, we just click, boom, you got your information right there at your fingertips, so you can make the decisions that are out there. I see another question's coming in. We'll answer that. How is AI, changing, the reporting within JD Edwards, and then how are we, again, I know everybody has an AI pet project within their four walls. And a lot of them are sitting there saying, hey, well, let's target some data within JD Edwards, because as we all know, JD Edwards is incredibly rich data environment. So Julie, Jerry, how have you seen AI and the questions that you're starting to get from our customers around this environment?
I kind of feel like it's one of those technologies that's really still emerging. There's times when you try to use it and it's completely wrong. And there's times when you try to use it and it's completely right. So I feel like it's, I personally think when you're interpreting data, right, you're a data analyst, it takes some creativity and critical thinking skills, and AI isn't always right? That's the moral of the story. Like it's just not quite ready yet. If you put the same question in 3 times, you might get 3 different answers, and maybe one of them is spot on and the other 2 are close, but not quite what you need. And so I think it still leaves too much error in what we can produce in terms of reporting, because we do need that precise correctness in our reports. Jerry, how do you feel about it?
Well, I agree. I mean, it is a young technology, right? It's kind of in its infancy, and just AI in general, right? But then the AI for JDE has to be developed. So what's been developed so far? I don't know. Can I go to an AI tool and say, hey, explode a bill of materials and required quantities for me? Does it know to go to F3002? Does it know how to explode through a bomb? Because back at Edwards, we had to write a C function to do that recursively. And would AI be able to do that? I don't know. Maybe someday. I don't think so right now. But there's definitely that JD Edwards specific knowledge that somebody has to build for AI. And I don't know who's doing it or when it'll get here.
Yeah, I love that. I think that, the things that I've seen within the customer environments is, we're still training the data, right? And it still takes a lot of interpretation of that data by us. Like Julie said, sometimes you ask it 3 times, you can get 3 different answers. Sometimes you get the same answer. But that interpretation in that data is very, very important. That's still there. Do we have any further questions out there within the community? I saw one typing a second ago.
I see that one from Olga.
Okay.
Olga out there. It says, it's great that non-JD Edwards users can access the reporting with this feature. Mobi is a product that's sold addition to the Basics Reports Now package. So Reports Now is the company. The reporting tool is called DAS. It's called Data Access Studio. And DAS has what we call concurrent license structure, so that the licensing is done by the number of current users that are using it at the time. Mobi is a separate product, so it's not in addition to, it's usually in addition to Reports Now, or in addition to DAS, but it's done on a named license basis. So each user that's going to access the Mobi dashboards would have a Mobi license. So it is a different, separate product, and the pricing and the licensing is a little different for it. Jerry, do you have anything to add to that? Does that answer?
Not on that one, but I see Kylie's question below, and it's a good one, because as our DAS reports generate the data for Mobi's consumption, and it gets to Mobi, it is not enforcing JD Edwards row security anymore. Okay, but there are security measures you can use in Mobi, and then just the way you architect it, right? You could say, well, I'm going to set up this Mobi portal to access this business unit's data. And then you publish only that portal to the consumers of that business unit's data. So that would be another way to handle the security there. But good question.
Got another question in there. Jerry, you mentioned Pro.
Right.
What is that? And can you get into that?
It's a product called Pro Reports, and I almost want to call it Pro Presentation, because it is a very powerful tool. Prior to Pro Reports, we mostly use Excel for the presentation, either automatic or manual, right? And the manual presentations, the Excel users love it because we basically just dump data to Excel and then they do what they want. And then the automatic one, we can make some really pretty presentations with Excel. But Pro Reports is better than both. If you have to do something very fancy, very professional looking, or you have to do things that use, it reminds me of RDA a lot. RDA, we had sections where we had level breaks and could do totaling and things. Pro Reports reminds me of that. They don't call them sections, they call them bands, right? And there's a detail band, and then you can add header and footer level bands where you're doing totaling and column labels and things like that. And it's very powerful, and you can throw graphs in there. It's very powerful, very flexible. But just like Mobi or like dashboards, it all starts with the DAS report that generates the data that is consumed by Pro Reports and dashboards.
And Pro Reports does come standard with DAS, with a DAS license. It does. But you can publish them to Mobi, and you would need a Mobi license for that. But you can publish them just like you would a normal DAS report as well.
We got another question. There says, can we connect DAS to S4HANA public cloud database?
That's a good question. And one of the more recent challenges, right, is any of these cloud-based ERP systems or hosting, it's like almost like you don't own the data like you do with JD Edwards.
Right.
And a lot of that depends on what the vendor will allow you to do, whether it be Salesforce, NetSuite, some of them have thresholds on how much data you can download. Just like your phone company might, back in the old day when you had the cell phone plans that said, well, you get 1 gigabyte a month. And some of these vendors have those kind of restrictions. So a lot of that accessing cloud data, it's hard to comment on because it varies by vendor.
Yeah, I'll comment on that too. And what we've seen also is, the integrations within those SaaS products, right? There's certain customizations that they'll let you do, and there's certain ones that you can't. And then when they automatically do the updates, within that SaaS environment, sometimes it breaks those customizations, those integrations that go with it. So we have to go back there and tweak them and rebuild them up for a quick second.
Yeah.
I would say this, we could work with them and figure out what it is and can we get into it. If we can get to it, we can get the data, right? As long as it allows for the integration and the connection, then we can go get it and we can get those real-time things. I think we already answered the standard DAS licensing. Does it come with standard DAS licensing? I think that was on the Pro, and we answered that. Is there any other questions out there that we have from anybody? In the meantime, while you're sitting there and you're asking questions, see Kylie's getting one to go. Our next J2E talk is on the 21st of October, and so please don't miss that too. That's going to be an awesome one, and we're just trying to bring more information to you and to help you, educate you, and work with you on all of your needs within your JD Edwards environments. All right, Kylie's got one here. Does Reports Now work with other systems, or is it only JD only? We use Eleton for one piece of our business, for example.
If it's an ODBC compliant database and you can access it, like it's on premise and you own the data, sure, we can, it's just a external connection to external data. But we're read the data in raw. So like if it has any kind of special data dictionary formatting or something like JD Edwards data, then you'll have to translate it in your DAS report.
Great question.
And another thing about the cloud data, some of our customers just download it and they keep a copy in their data center and then just use that data and I know they do it for Salesforce, a couple of customers, and we report on that. Of course, worst thing about that is that it's not live data, but it is available. And I know at least in that case, Salesforce lets you do it. And they say, yeah, go ahead and download whatever it was. I can't remember, but it's possible.
Right. And just to follow up here real quick. So, on the 21st, the talk is going to be, unpacking JD Edwards sustainable framework, strategies, insights, and implementation. So just so you'll have that. Any other questions before we wrap up? All right, we'll give it a second here. But hey, I just want to thank everybody for coming today. Jerry, Julie, thank you for your excellent knowledge and your expertise in this arena. We really, really hope that it helped and we answered the questions and we gave value to you. Looks like your Sharif's said thanks. Thank you very much for coming in. If there's anything that we can help you guys with, please feel free to reach out to us at QuizStor and at Reports Now. We're great partners together. We work very, very well together. We understand the JDE environments and those other third-party environments that we've talked about all around that tie into this, and the data challenges in which are out there. So again, those that are there, some of you it's evening, some of there it's afternoon. For us here, it's morning. We appreciate you joining us, and we hope you have a wonderful week. And if there's anything we can do, thank you. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing you on the next JDE Talks. Have a great day.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.